moved the evolution of consciousness starting from the Brahma, entering into Apara Prakriti or the Shiva, entering for the Maithuni Krutya with the Shakti, starts displaying the Shakti, which slowly moves downwards in its multifarious aspect, every time becoming less and less powerful as she reaches to the ultimate unfoldment of power. So all the creatures, which are the terminal constituents of this universe, are bound to have limited power. The sun, we all know through science also, has enormous power. Sun is a powerhouse of nuclear fission. There is a nuclear fusion and fission, both happen in the interior of sun. For billions of years it has been happening. It will happen for a few more billion of years, releasing enormous amount of energy day after day. If we wish to have the power of the sun within us, what is the option that we have available with us? Me, as this mortal frame, even if somehow decide to invoke the power of the sun, I shall not have the ability to hold the power of the sun in me, because I am sant or limited. However, I can invoke the power of the sun and channelize or direct it towards a particular place or space and time, and make use of the enormous power of the Surya Devata. I have two choices in front of me. One, to harness the power in the universe through a set technicalities and use that power for the welfare of me in terms of my prosperity, welfare of the world in terms of my datrutva, or I can invoke the power to make me powerful as them, or perhaps more powerful than them. All the three options are available to me. The main question is, how do I do? How do I go about it? How do I harness the power in the universe in my little hands? And that is where the role of Rishis come into the picture. In order to know the secret or esoteric ways of harnessing the power, the Shakti from the universe, the methodology of invoking those powers, I must elevate myself through my flight of consciousness, Chaitanya Anubhuti, on a different plane than my current material world. I have to withdraw from the material world and then take an internal journey. With a purified mind, I shall be able to traverse the planes of consciousness one after the other, thereby going back towards the source of the power. As I start this journey towards the source of the power, which is the aim of yoga, which is the aim of Advaita Siddhanta, I come across higher and higher powerful states. When I am at a very low level of consciousness, such as any small insect, my ability to understand sun is very limited. But if I am a human being, I am able to understand the sun in a much better light than the ant, because ant is at a lower consciousness level than a human being. If the hierarchy of development of consciousness can be understood in the mortals, then if what is ant to a human being, we also might be an ant to the superhumans. The title used for superhumans by Yogi Aurobindo Ghosh was supermind. Supermind is that mind which transcends the limitation of the current state of our mind through the art of purity of heart and meditation, taking us to the higher flights. With each flight, I come to know larger centers of power in this universe, and I'm able to invoke that power within me, and the common people then call it as miracle or siddhi. When the flight of consciousness moves towards the higher plane, you come to know the intricacies of the universe. The visible manifested universe is absolutely negligible part of unmanifested and occult and sukshma vishwa that we have. Nobody is able to see a thought, yet thought completely covers our life. A car, a tree, a mountain may be also a part of our life, but it's a very minuscule part. The major part of our mind, which is subconscious mind, is actually well within the waters of consciousness. What we see outside is the tip of iceberg. But when, through certain techniques, we start taking the journey deep inwards, expanding the horizons of consciousness, then you cross boundaries after boundaries, boundaries after boundaries, and come across extremely powerful centers where the powers are concentrated, those powers who can control large section of universe. These power centers are very bright because they are knowledge. Knowledge being normally referred as prakasha. So anything that is lighted is called enlightened. Anything that is enlightened is called deva or deva. So the higher levels of consciousness, you come across higher beings which are called as siddhas or deva. By propitiating these devas, you are able to receive the same kind of power they have within you. So also you're in a position to direct that power to a place and a point in time which you decide. As you start moving upwards in the levels of consciousness, the next door opens. You again meditate for certain more time, the next door opens. So level after level, consciousness keeps opening to you. And when you're at the highest level of consciousness, that is the time your indriyas are not working to the external world, but they are working towards the internal world. And as a result, your ears do listen to a sound, but that is not the sound that we see outside in this world. The sound that we hear is called anahatanad, the unstruck sound. So also you closed your eyes and you're sitting in the meditation, but the higher levels of consciousness, you do see certain things. So the rishis, when they are in the highest level of concentration, which is called a samadhi, at that avastha, sayama avastha, they are able to see the powerhouses, the shakti sthala, in the form of brilliant aksharas. They are called aksharas because naksharati iti aksharaha, they are never destroyed. Those aksharas are called vedakshara. Ved is to know. Only when the knowledge extends to the highest possible level, then you are able to visualize those power centers as aksharas, and those aksharas are the precursor of the vani that we have at the mortal or material level. Then it goes without saying that those aksharas are different than the aksharas that we know here. Although alphabets that are used in these aksharas are same as ours, the aksharas that emerged there are actually seen in the Antarpatala by the Rishis. That is why such Rishis are called as Mantra Drashta. Mantra Drashta, one who is able to visualize the mantra, means certain alphabets or aksharas in that state, and those aksharas are the ultimate door to the salvation or emancipation or the power. That is why they are called as mantra. Mantra mananat trayate, because those are the ones, if understood in the right earnest and the right spirit, we are able to get the power, harness the power, invoke the power. While invoking the power, the holder of the power is called the Dev or Devata. She is to be propitiated through those syllables which have been seen by the Rishis, not by the syllables that we compose ourselves. And there are two types of Rishis, Mantra Drashta and Mantra Karta. Very, very rarely it happens that the Rishis, they dwell so high in the level of consciousness that they cross the boundaries of the powerhouses or the Prakriti, and at that point of time, they themselves compose some utterances which are beyond the levels of consciousness that we experience, and then they also compose what is called as mantra. So either the mantra is seen in that avastha, or sometimes is composed even by mantra, by the Rishis. They are called mantra karta Rishis. One other type of Rishis, when they are into this higher level of consciousness, they are focusing themselves on the hearing of the mantras. And as they go up, it is not the visualization that they are focusing on, it is the listening that they are hearing that they are focusing on. And that is when they start getting the nad into their ears at the higher level of consciousness, and they are called Veda Shrota Rushi, because they hear the Veda Vakya or the Veda Akshara. Mantra Drashta sees the mantra Akshara, and that is how this achievement is by focusing entirely on the Mahad Akash. Mahad Akash is a characterless, traitless, qualityless Nirguna Sadhana, which leads to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So all the powers that are there in this universe have been enumerated in the Kaivalya Pada by Patanjali Maharaj as Janma Aushadhi Tantra, Janma Aushadhi Mantra Tapaha Samadhija Siddhaya. The Siddhi or the powers can be obtained by 5 ways. Janma, some people by birth will have it because of the Purva Karma. Aushadhi, there are some medicinal plants who can give Siddhi. Mantra can give Siddhi. Tapa can give Siddhi. And Samadhi can give Siddhi. Mantra Dhatu in Sanskrit way, if we look at it, Mantra Dhatu means Guhya Paribhashana, the esoteric dialogue. This is a Sanskrit Vakya. While the Tantrika Vakya is Mananat Trayate iti Mantraha. When this mantra Ucharan is heard by the Rishis at that level, they bring it down when they come down to the normal level of consciousness, such as you and me. And while bringing it, they bring also the rules regarding it. Because the frequency of the sound with which we utter those words has to exactly match the way the Rishis have seen it or heard it. And that is the reason why the language Sanskrit has given extreme importance to the phonetics part of it. All the Rishis have verified this Dhvani, not in the normal avastha, only when in the Samadhi, when they have gone beyond this Muladhara Chakra, Swadhisthana Chakra, they cross Manipura Chakra, and when they come to Anahata Chakra, that is where the Dhvani, the Nada, the mantra is heard by the ears. You and me cannot hear it, only the Rishis in the meditation. After crossing the Anahata Chakra, they can hear it. So Anahata, Vishuddhi and Ajna Chakra, these three chakras give the veracity to the correct pronunciation of the mantra. That is the reason only a guru can give the correct mantra. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gave all his 16 disciples mantra either by writing it on the tongue or speaking it in the ear. Usually the mantra is given in the karna, so it is called as karna mantra. He utters the word. If we verbatim make the copy of that and we try to say it, we do not have that effect which the gurus have, because they know the precise way of uttering a mantra along with the power inherent in that mantra. That is why the Raswat Swara, Dirgha Swara, Plut Swara, Udatta Swara, Anudatta Swara, Swarita Swara, Dirgha Swarita Swara, everything has to be in the proper format. When a Gayatri is recited, Tat Savitur Varenyam, that Varenyam, the gap, has to come in a proper manner, because that is precisely where you're asking for the blessings. Because the mantra is nothing else but the packed vibrations which are supposed to go and hit on the tanmatras. In other words, there are many such gods representing authority on specific functions such as wind, fire, earth. Each of these gods or collective powers can be invoked by a mantra which contains sounds and syllables, which makes them turn towards the invoker. The sound and akshara together forms the mantra. Every form in this world has an ideation behind it called sankalpa, which then undergoes sound and word process. So there is initially a sankalpa, ekoham bhausyam, the God made the sankalpa, ideation. That ideation came in fruition through a bindu and the nada, which is called nada brahma. So the whole universe is created from the nada brahma. The sound and the akshara then undergoes a process whereby requisite tanmatra. Tanmatra in simple words is the mother of all the Panchamahabhutas. Vayu, Jala, Agni, Prithvi, Akasha. These are visible manifestations of Panchamahabhuta. But each Panchamahabhuta has a mother of theirs called Tanmatra, which is a subtle form of these 5 powers. These subtle powers are commanded by the sound and the akshar, and then the requisite integration happens and a visible manifestation takes place. It would be prudent here to mention that a yogi is in a position to ask the tanmatras to form even another clone of his. A yogi can create his clone as many times as he wants. This is very clearly mentioned in Vachaspati Mishra and Vijnana Bhikshu's commentary in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So mantra is basically an umbilical cord that connects the manifestation with the source. And that is why when the mantra is chanted, it compels the manifesting composite to arrive. But it cannot be forgotten that every sound has a frequency, amplitude, and a wavelength. These 3 together, by their permutation combination, can have different soundings. A precise vibration of sound has ability to attract tanmatra composites to blend together and actually manifest. Yantra is the physical representation of the mantra. The way a musical note is recorded by the musician, a yantra is nothing else but the recording of the mantra. A written mantra is a mantra, but a depicted mantra is a yantra. Mantra is the coded alphabets, yantra is the coded sketch. And Tantra is the technique of benefiting from mantra and yantra. So the difference between Yoga Shastra, Jnana Marga, and Tantra Marga is Yoga Shastra emphasizes on detachment from the material deluding world, while Tantra immerses itself deep within the material world as Shakti, but in a manner that does not create attachment, yet be one with the Shakti, so in turn he reaches the Shiva. So exiting Maya and be one with the Brahma is Jnana Marga. Ascertaining Prakruti and Brahma as separate entity is Yoga. And being one with the Prakriti and ascertaining the Shiva is Mantra or Tantra. Mantra can also be used for material success. When Swami Vivekananda was there in Madras, he happened to meet a mantrika who had mastered some mantras. And to verify, Swami Vivekananda had taken great amount of precaution so that there is no fraud happening around this person. He was completely checked physically by him. And then this person asked Swamiji to ask for any fruit. Swamiji deliberately asked for the fruits that were not at all prevalent during that season in Madras, and all those fruits were made to arrive from under the blanket which the mantrik was using, not in a small quantity, but as much quantity as a man, that is 40 kilos of oranges, grapes. Not only that, everyone who was there attending ate all those fruits. They were as delicious and as fresh as possible. On the top of it, Swamiji asked for a rose, and a rose was produced with a dewdrop on its leaves. Still, Swamiji was not satisfied. That is why he wanted to know something. And he said, I want to ask you something. Before Swamiji could ask anything, this gentleman took out a small piece of paper and said, this is what you wanted to ask me. It was nothing else but a Buddhist mantra in Tibetan language, which Swami Vivekananda knew and had decided to ask him, but he had already written it on the piece of paper and given it to Swami Vivekananda. This is the power of mantra by a person who was not spiritually well advanced, but had mastered the mantra. That is how mantra, in terms of philosophical aspect, is clear to us. Luckily, it has happened nowadays. The science has developed so that now it is coming very close and knocking on the doors of Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra. The branch of physics that holds enormous promise, that is a branch which even Einstein failed to anticipate the size and growth of this branch, is quantum physics. I am aware of the limitations of the knowledge of physics, especially quantum physics for all of us. Yet I will try to explain quantum physics and the basis of mantra through quantum physics. The biggest theorem, biggest postulate of quantum theory is there is no matter without energy and there is no energy without matter. In other words, matter and energy are interchangeable. But the main thing that quantum physics deals with is when a cricket ball hits another cricket ball, we know that the balls will go in different directions. So we are able to predict which direction they will go, at what speed they will go. This is called classical physics, which follows Newton's law. Surprisingly, when the matter becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and comes to the level of subatomic particles, at that point, a strange thing happens. And that strange thing is, if there is a physical reaction which is creating an energy equivalent to 1.06 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second, that means a very minuscule energy released by subatomic particles, absolutely small particles, then such energy cannot be measured by human beings. This number which I gave is called Max Planck constant. What Max Planck constant does is, for subatomic particles, that means at Paramanu level, mind well, Kanad Rushi in his Vaisheshika Tattvajnan spoke of matter being made up of Paramanu, and Paramanu is not atom. Paramanu is last indivisible particle. So it is smaller than subatomic particle. And the entire theory of creation of Kanad Rushi is based on this Paramanu, which is called quanton in quantum physics. Why we are studying this and what is its relation with mantra is what I am trying to explain. That means when the particles are ultra microscopically small or subatomic particle, laws of Newton do not work. In other words, if one electron and another electron interact with each other, then what will happen cannot be predicted by human experimentation. The frame of reference of an observer or a scientist becomes completely irrelevant in the experiment. So all that can be said about subatomic particles is that the particle can be here, can be there, but nobody can say definitely where it will be. In other words, precise specific location of a particle and the precise definite speed of the particle simultaneously cannot be predicted for subatomic particles. And the relevance of subatomic particles for us is the tanmatras which are described in Patanjali Yoga Sutra are almost at a nature level which is smaller than subatomic particles. These subatomic particles, when they were studied through quantum physics, it was observed that the entire world is interacting as quantons with each other. And the funniest part was, if the electron has interacted here and it has escaped from that particular quantum system, then it can be found at another star in the sky, because distance is not the limit for the subatomic particles. That means the electron which was paired with another electron, during the reaction, if they separate from each other, one of them may be found and a star which is beyond sun, one may be found here. However, even at such a distance, it keeps the relation with the previous partner electron. This is called quantum entanglement. This is what precisely our Advaita Tattvajnan teaches us. Nothing, whatever you do in this world is private. Every thought, every action that we do affects the whole universe in one or the other way. The moon up there affects the sea tides in the ocean. The taraka, the dead material, the living material, each of them are interacting with each other and influencing each other. Incidentally, when Einstein saw this, he couldn't believe it. He says, how it is possible that a subatomic particle, nothing can be definitely said about it. Whether it is existing or not existing cannot be said. Subatomic particle, whether it is existing or not existing, cannot be said, which is precisely Sat or Asat cannot be said because it is Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya is Maya. This is precisely what Shankaracharya has been telling us. These quantons or the energy particles are the one which can be moved, made to change, made to react through the sound energy, provided the electrons or the subatomic particles in their respective orbits are affected or made to affect in a particular manner through the sound. And that is how the mantra recitation, when it is specifically done, then it specifically goes and hits at the point where the directed electron and the subatomic particles are there, and then it releases the energy. Our Puranas and our Hindu Shastra calls such power centers by the name of Devata. So learning, jnana, learning is a power which is because of certain quantons. These quantons are coalesced or concentrated in the form of a power called Saraswati. When a mantra is recited of Saraswati in the manner it should be by a pious person under the guidance of a guru, then that goes and harnesses the power of the power center called Saraswati, and it releases the quantum energy in such a manner that my buddhimatta then progresses further. It is transfer of power from one entity to me as another entity, or one quantum system to another quantum system through the mechanism called quantum discohesion. We are not getting into the details of quantum cohesion, quantum zeno. These are different aspects altogether. But quantum zeno itself means meditation. Many scientists in quantum physics, Niels Bohr, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, of which Schrödinger and Heisenberg both had studied Vedanta, which means mantra, purely because of the sound, it creates vibration, and a matter and a vibration or energy are interchangeable. A matter can get converted into energy and it will disappear from my sight, and energy can condense it into a particle form, and the particles assemble to form a roop or something will form in front of me. Samartha Ramadas, by doing the Purascharan Vidhi for almost 12 years sadhana, through the Surya mantra, the Surya Gayatri that he was performing in the morning since the Brahma Muhurt of 3:30 till 12 o'clock in the afternoon for 12 years, the mantra siddhi went to an extent that whatever he had desired, which was nothing else but the Bhagavan Shri Ram, through the sound energy, the mantrochara made the whole tanmatra to create the roop of Sri Ram, and the Sri Ram appeared in front of him. We always feel it could be just a hoax. It was not. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had the darshan of Radha, and not only had a darshan of Radha, he actually went and picked up a flower called Nagachampa and showed the color that this was the color of the skin of Radha. At the height of meditation and concentration with the mantrochara, you start visualizing these mantras. That's why the Rishis are called mantra drushta. How many of us have seen the Rishis? None. But we have seen a modern Rishi called Swami Vivekananda. When he was traveling from Almora to Nainital along with his Guru Bandhu Akhandananda Maharaj, he described that he was able to visualize the Vedic mantras on the sky in the golden letters and being recited by the rishis of Vedic period in the tone, in the frequency different than what he had studied, which he mentioned to Akhandananda as well as to Bhagini Nivedita. Which means what we read is not a hypothetical story. So that is how, when Neil Bohr described this to Einstein, Einstein said, God cannot be playing the dice. How can it happen that something done here has an impact onto a star which is billions of light years away? And the answer given by Neil Bohr was, he said, you have no business to meddle with God. So where Einstein left, quantum mechanics progressed further, and currently it is into the stages where lots of interesting things are happening. One of them being neural quantum mechanics, which studies in the nervous system of the human beings how emotions are conducted through quantas. There have been discoveries of the neuronal tubules through which the quantas are propagated. Quite an exciting development, which our rishis have done already in the past, without getting into the details, asking everyone to have a pure heart, dissociate yourself from the material world, and then start the internal journey. And on the internal journey, take that mantra given by your guru for meditation, and the mantra will unfold you the entire universe step by step, because mantra is Vedakshara. Vedakshara is nothing else but Vedo Akhilam Moolam. It is Brahma. That is how even Kanada Rishi said that the vibrations have light. Every vibration, every light is in waveform. Waves have light. It took so many years for us to learn that the visible light spectrum, which is from 400 nanometers till about 700 nanometers. Beyond 700 is infrared. Below 400 is ultraviolet rays. And we know that these rays have high frequency and they can create any kind of temperature that one requires. We all have used infrared lamps for sprains in the body or on the joint. The light then creates huge amount of energy, so you feel very hot there, and that is how your pain in the joint is relieved. That means the light can create heat. If light can create heat, if every sound energy has a light counterpart, there are Tibetan lamas who use mantra is their main sadhana. The Vajrayana Buddhism of Tibet, where the mantra sadhana has really reached to great heights. There are lamas who sit in the caves. Then in the darkness, how do they work? They have a pancha dhatu symbol, which they keep moving, made up of pancha dhatu, and they keep muttering Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. But when they strike that particular Panchadhatu utensil with a particular strike and a particular vibration is created, it starts emitting light. Many lamas have done that. What it means is the mantra has the power to invoke greater stores of power and bringing them towards either us through the nyasa or the mudra. You can have it in you. The Saraswati can come and reside in you. The Kali resided in Ramakrishna's body. Ramakrishna resided on the tongue of Swami Vivekananda. It has happened in America. Before delivering this majestic lecture, Swami Vivekananda was seen talking with somebody, And when it was asked, he said, no, I was the only one inside. Actually, he used to have the word to word conversation with Ramakrishna Paramahamsa before the next day's lecture. That is what he himself has mentioned. With this background, we can come to what mantra actually is. Every mantra is supposed to have minimum 5 or 6 parts to it. The mantra has to have a Rishi, which is the originator of the mantra, or the one who has seen the mantra, mantra drashta. That mantra has to be in a particular style of writing called chanda, meter. The mantra should have one devata associated with it. Then the mantra should have a bija mantra in it. And the last is it should have a tattva or principle behind it. Another way of looking at the mantra is, the second theory says, a mantra has a Rishi, a meter called chanda. For example, Gayatri mantra is in Gayatri meter. So it is called Gayatri mantra. It's not the name. It is Savitru mantra. It is called Gayatri because it is in Gayatri chanda. So Rishi, chanda, devata, bija, shakti, and kilaka. Kilaka is like a master key. If the kilaka is not known, then reciting mantra is not going to be of any use. To take some examples, we have in Rigveda and Krishna Yajurveda a mantra called Dakshinamurti mantra. The Rishi of that mantra is Prajapita Brahma. Drashta of that mantra is Vishwamitra, because Vishwamitra saw it first in his Samadhi Avastha. There is a difference between Rishi and Muni. A Rishi is one who knows the secrets of the mantra and gives it to others, while a Muni will never give this to others. He keeps it as secret. That is the only difference between Rishi and Muni. So Muni can be Guru to only few Shishyas, while Rishi is Sadguru to all. Chanda is meter, as I told. Gayatri Chanda, Anushtuva Chanda. Gayatri mantra is 8 syllables into 3 lines, 24 syllables. That is called Gayatri mantra. Devata. Each mantra has a devata. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudeva is the devata. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva is a devata. In Gayatri mantra, Tat Savitru is the devata. Savitru or Savitru. Savitru is not sun. It is commonly held as sun, but he is the son of Aditi. Sun has many different acts, many different facets. The vivifier, the rouser, the one which rouses the prakasha, the one who vivifies, one who gives effulgence, is called Savitru. So Gayatri mantra is directed to that aspect of sun called Savitru, vivifying power of the sun. That is why, being vivifier, the mantra says Bhargo Divasya Dhimai. Bhargaha. Bhargaha means effulgence. Then every mantra has a bija. Bija is a coded form of the mantra. Why bija is required? Because when the mantra is propitiated and invoked, and you want the devata to reside in your body, then you have to invite the devata, and through the bija mantra of devata, doing a particular nyasa on the body, different parts of the body, it is like implanting the devata into your body. And while implanting, the bija mantra of devata is used. Bija mantra of devata is many times powerful than the mantra. So if a mantra is accompanied with a bija mantra embedded in it, for example, Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha, Gang bija. This is bija. Gang is bija. Om Rim Klim Chamundaye Namaha. Rim Klim. Bija mantra of Chamunda. So Bija mantra is associated with it. Tattva, every mantra has a tattva. If it is a Agni mantra, Dahakata is the tattva. That means if that mantra is propitiated, your body temperature will also go up. Everything will become Agni Tattva Maya. So one has to be careful that sometimes mantra, you may not have the power to hold the mantra. That is why Guru is required. Shakti is from two sources. If you are propitiating Devata, you are calling for the power. Deva is authority, Devata is power. That is why most of the mantras are towards the Devata. Deva is authority. So you can either get the authority and may not enjoy the power, or you may get the power, you may not get the authority, depending upon whether it is a Deva Upasana or the Devata Upasana. And the Kilak is the peg or the master key that fixes the mantra with the Sharira or the Mana. For example, the Saraswati mantra, Om Saraswatyaye Namaha. This Saraswati mantra has a kilak called Prana. That means this mantra can only be invoked correctly to release all the power, provided Prana is used. Amongst the Pancha Prana, you have Prana, Apana, Udana, Vyana, Samana. Of that, Prana is the kilak. So you have to harness the Prana. To harness the Prana, you must know how to breathe, how to harness the Prana, and then use that Prana for invoking the Saraswati, and then the person will have all the blessings of Saraswati. The kilak for Omkar. Oh. When we say Omkar, the kilak for Omkar is Soham Sadhana. While pronouncing Omkar mantra, if you are not connected with Saha, Aham, Soham, I am that, Tattvamasi, then only that becomes a fruitful mantra. Gayatri mantra is described in all the 4 Vedas. Yajurveda has the highest collection of mantra at one place. It is called Rudra. Before saying Gayatri, Pranava Uchchar is must. So it must start with Omkar and must end with Omkar. Many people do not pronounce Gayatri. They pronounce Gayatri without Omkar, which is wrong. The mantra are there for prosperity as well as for moksha. Depends upon who wants to make use of what. For example, Chakshushpa Agnesi Chakshurme Pahi. This mantra, if it is recited correctly for 10,000 times, it can bring back the drushti. Trambakam Yajamahe. This mantra avoids apamrutyu. Madhuvata Rutayate. This mantra does Vashikarana. Apan Garbha Vedadatat Purutra. This mantra brings rains. Gananam Tva Ganapatim. This mantra gives Bhayanasha. Namostu Rudrebhyo Pishacha Badha Nashtata. This is how each mantra, there are supposed to be 6 crore mantras. There are books on mantra collected. All the mantras are collected there. So there are many, many mantras. Some mantras require enormous amount of power within you as a pure person to invoke. Some of them do not even require that. For an example, Vrushchik Dansha, if the scorpion bite is there, then the mantra can be recited even by a common man and still it will have effect. So Vrushchik Dansha mantra, even if you don't know the meaning, it will work. The difference between a Samanya Shabda and the mantra is, after we speak, the Samanya Shabda loses the significance. Mantra, when it is uttered, it never loses the significance. It reaches its ultimate destination. The only difference is, if the mantra comes from a Siddha Purusha, it will have 100% power and it will harness and invoke the Devata. While people like us, when we do that, It is not that 100% power, but yet at a point, not 1% power, it does work. So even if whenever we say a mantra never goes waste. How much benefit it will accrue will depend upon, of course, the way the mantra is chanted, the purity and the piousness of the person, the presence of Guru. Then if it is a Guru Bharita mantra, then of course it will have a higher power. So that is why normally a mantra is recited in front of a murti of that devata whose mantra it is. Murti is called Vachaka Shakti, mantra is called Vachya Shakti. Vachya Shakti is not aroused. Vachak Shakti is not aroused unless Vachya Shakti is to be made effective. First Vachaka Shakti, first Devata has to be propitiated. So when you have a Ishta Devata in front of you and do a bhavana and then start invoking in the mantra, it is called Shaktyupaya Yoga. And when you don't have any Murti in front of you, but you are doing Nirguna Sadhana through the mind, then it is called Shambhavopaya Yoga. A mantra can be a bija mantra, mula mantra, or mala mantra. Example of a bija mantra is Aing, Glom, Klim. These are bija mantras. They are also called Matruka. Matruka means little mother. Matruka means the words that we pronounce, they have their maternal form. So it is the Matruka who give prasava. They make the alphabets born. So A, B, K, D, E, all that is born from the Matrukas. For example, in Veda, the Matruka for Veda is Aing. From where it came? Rigveda's first rucha is Agnimile, A. Yajurveda's first rucha is Ishetor Jetva, E. Samaveda's first rucha is Agna Ayahi, A again. And Atharva Veda's first rucha is Shanno Deviribhishtya, Shang, Shanno, Shang, Anuswara. So A, E, A, Anuswar of first word of each Veda makes it Ain. Ain is the Bija mantra of Veda. Om is a Bija mantra. In, Klim, Blum. 4 Bija mantras that you see in Vedas are these 4. Om, Im, Klim, Blum. Then each mantra has what is called as Samputita mantra. For example, mantra for Krishna is Om Klim Krishnaya Namaha. Om is Pranava, Klim is Bija, Krishnaya is called Shakha, Namaha is called Pallava. The ending part of any mantra is called Pallava. But before the mantra is given, we have to do what is called as Uddhara of the mantra. Uddhara means we have to understand the meaning of the mantra. Tritiyaka Narayanena Sammishro Vayushchashvara Yuktaha Viche Narvana Konasyat. This is called Uddhara of Chamundi mantra. After this Uddhara is understood, then you are entitled to say the Chamundi mantra, which is Aim. It is from Veda. So Aim, Rim, Klim, Chamundaya Vichai. This Chamundi mantra has Uddhara before that. It is said if the Omkar or Pranav is recited properly for 1 crore of times, as per Upanishad it is mentioned, there will be Jnana Prapti. Any mantra that ends with Hum Phat is called protective mantra. Any mantra that ends with Vashat is Vashyata Siddhi mantra. Anything that ends with Om Phat Phat Swaha, Phat is for Shatru Uchchatana. Any mantra that ends with Namaha, O Sri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha, Namaha is Santushtata mantra. Vaushat, if the mantra is ending with Vaushat, it is for Sampatti Prapti. There are male mantras and female mantras. It is called Saura mantra and Soma mantra. The Saura mantra is Hum Phat is a Saura mantra. Swaha, Swadha, these are Stri mantras or Soma mantras. Namaha Om Namah Shivaya. Namaha is called neutral mantra because it is Brahma Preraka mantra. If the mantra is in 10 words, Dashakshara, it is called Dasharna mantra. If it is 20 up to 20 akshara, it is called Kartari mantra or the Pinda mantra. And if it is more than 20 akshara, it is called Mala mantra. Mantra again can be classified as Siddha mantra, which gives phalam after some kala. Sadhya mantra is after japa and home is done, then only the siddhi comes. Susiddha mantra, tvarita phalam. And Ari mantra is the mantra which can even do destruction of the one who is doing the mantra. So mantra, before it is done, especially when the diksha is given with a mantra, there is a sanskar to be done before giving mantra. The sanskar is not on the person who is doing the mantra itself is done sanskarita mantra. So mantra is done sanskar upon. What are the sanskaras? Janana, Jivana, Tadana, Bodhana, Vimalikarana, Apyayana, Tarpana, Darpana, Gupti. And the last part of that Gupti means you have to keep the Guru Mantra Gupta always. No Shishya ever discloses what mantra Guru has given. So that is why the mantra has to be done as sanskara before it is taken. Bija mantra or Bija Prabandha was known to all the Rishis. That is why if we see Valmiki Ramayana, after every 1000 shloka, one letter of Gayatri mantra is added by Valmiki Maharaj. You see the first shloka, then see 1001, then see 2001, then see 3001. There will be one letter from Gayatri mantra is added there. In Bhagavata Purana, each skanda starts with 2 aksharas of Gayatri mantra. For example, the first Adhyaya canto starts with Satyam Param Dhimahi. Dhimahi has come there. So Gayatri mantra is inserted there. That power is there with the Gayatri mantra. Entire Bhagavad Gita is considered as a mantra. Hayagriva Upanishad gives the idea about japa, and Ramapurva Tapini Upanishad talks about the mantra. Each bijakshara is also seen with the color context. For example, Prana has a Ya as the bija mantra and violet color. Apana Vayu has a Ra as the bija mantra and golden yellow color. Vyana is called La and red color. Udana is called Va and shining white. And Samana Vayu has Ha as the bija mantra and colorless crystal as the color. So there are different ways the mantras are recited. Some of the mantras are called Tarak mantra. Tarak mantra means Moksha Dayaka mantra. Tarak is also a chanda. It is 4 into 13 syllables. 4 lines of 13 syllables. The way 8 syllables and 3 lines is Gayatri mantra, 13 syllables and 4 lines is Tarak mantra. So all Tarak mantras are based on that. Om Namo Narayanaha is a Tarak mantra. Om Namah Shivaya is a Tarak mantra. So in other words, the mantra can be Dakshin or Vama. Dakshin is all good mantras. The Vama mantras are for Shat Karana or Shad Vidhi. It can be for Shanti from the spirits or the Pishacha. It can be for Vashikarana to make somebody amenable to us. It can be used to do Stambhana. Stambhana is to restrain somebody's act from doing any act. Uchchatana, to stop the enemy from doing particular thing. Vidveshana, you can create a dvesh between 2 friends through the mantra. And the last is you can do Marana mantra. You can even use the mantra to kill somebody. Mantra can only be powerfully successful if it is done as a japa. Japa is continuous repetition of the mantra to make it more fruitful. So japa is usually done with a japa mala. Japa mala also has certain rules. Before doing the japa mala, first we have to do the worship of a japa mala. Om Am Rim Akshamalikaye Namaha. This mantra has to be recited, then the mala should be taken into hand. What time of the day you are doing the japa will tell you where to hold the mala. Normally, If you're doing it in the morning, put it close to your nabhi. If you are doing it in the afternoon, it should be close to your heart. And if you are doing in the evening or the night japa, then it should be close to your nose. So where you will hold the mala depends upon what time you are doing the japa. Every mala should have 108 beads only. Then the japa should be done only by the right hand. You have to use only the middle portion of the middle finger and the thumb, the top position of thumb. These are the only things that should touch the mala. Nothing else should touch the mala. Loose mala should be inside a pouch, which is usually called as gomukhi, and the mala should be always respected and worshipped in the Deva Puja Ghar, wherever the Deva Puja happens. And the mala should never be worn on the body, or it should not be shown to anybody. The japa can be verbal, which is vaikhari. It can be through whispering, or which is not heard by anyone, called upanshu. It can be by manas japa, called which is called by mind. And vaikhari japa is a vyakta japa, which takes care of adhibhautik tras. Madhyama japa or upanshu japa takes care of adhidaivik issues, and the pashyanti or the manas japa takes care of adhyatmik tap. Unmani avastha japa is called paravani, which is only accessible to those who are in the samadhi. This is in short about the mantra sadhana, trying to cover as much as possible as far as mantra sadhana is concerned, with these 3 interactive sessions of ours of mantra, tantra and yantra. If not anything, at least the basic concepts would be clear. And to start the sadhana on those lines, these words could be of some use to all. I must thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to study myself all this and share it with you. If there's anything I'm not able to explain, it is my fault. If there is anything that you feel that it was extremely useful or useful for your future sadhana, then it is entirely from the Almighty Lord, Sri Krishna. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji, thank you very much for this very enlightening session and series of sessions. Thank you very much for considering our request and sharing with us the very vast knowledge, information connected to this. I'm sure some of us will have some questions. I would like to have one question before. That is with respect to this meaning aspect. I mean, the mantras, I mean, like the suktas and the stotras, and also this, the Diksha mantra, or what is the difference? And is there any, I mean, basically, it was basically focused on the quantum mechanics and the sort of the sounds effect as a connecting. But what is the relevance with respect to the knowing the meaning? Is it only connected to the stotras, which is a stuti to Bhagavan, or how is it? I mean, so I would like to have some clarity on that aspect. And also this mantra chanting and all that, we learn as we understand and all that. So because this science behind it is too deep, and we can't learn without a guru and all these things. But within our limitations, is it allowed for us to learn in the way we are exposed to. Hari Om.
Hari Om. A sukta is a collection of mantra. A stotra is a stutipara mantra collection is stotra. Sukta may not be stutipara. Sutra may be factual and talking about esoteric philosophy, while the stotra is always for stuti of that particular power or the god or the goddess. Now, when we invoke them, we are expected to know what precisely you want from that goddess. Let us talk about Lakshmi Puja. If you are doing Mahalakshmi Stotra, what is that you want from Mahalakshmi? You should be very clear about it. You want abundance of wealth. For what purpose? Anything which is not certain in your mind as far as your desire is concerned, no desire can be fructified. So there has to be a complete clarity about why we are propitiating or invoking a particular god or a goddess. 1. 2, you must have a complete faith in your invocation, and a faith can come only when you understand the meaning of the mantra. So once you know the meaning of the mantra, then it will be easier for you to invoke the goddess. This knowing the mantra and its meaning is called uddhara of the mantra. Then mantra has to be given it respect that it deserves. Mantra is not something which can be spoken like a common language. Mantra is an art of doing archana or archa, puja. So that is why it should have all the sanctity that the mantra reserves. 1. 2, the sound and the vibration, even if they are not as perfect as a guru would advise, still nobody stops or nowhere it is nishiddha to take a mantra by yourself, presuming Lord as your guru. However, when we are doing that particular mantra ucharan, for example, if I have to go and talk to somebody in Israel, I must know Hebrew. Because even if I say in my language, whatever I want to say, the person will not understand. In the similar manner, whenever I am invoking a god, if I know precisely what I am calling with the words and what do they mean for the goddess or for the Lord, and what is the relation between me and the Lord, then it will have higher weightage. 2, the sound will become purer if it comes from the purer source. Impure and alloyed source cannot have pure sound. So a tamasi pravrutti person cannot have perfection in the sound. So that is why more sattva guna bharita person, his sound will be having a better quality required in terms of both the amplitude, the frequency, as well as the wavelength. So that is why initially it could be a mechanical thing while pronouncing a mantra, but this mechanical thing slowly turns with, when it is imbued with the faith, shraddha, and the bhavana, then the power of the mantra grows many folds. So that is why all these things have to come together. The mantra uchara karta, so the mantrika, the one who knows this sound well, provided the mantrik is pure at its own place, he has understood the meaning of the mantra. Third, he has understood the pronunciation and the swaras of the mantra. Fourth, he has taken it from an authorized person or guru. Only when the guru has seen the yogyata of the shishya, if the mantra is given, the power will be much higher. That is why taking guru mantra, people have gone through the salvation to the Kaivalya. But nevertheless, no mantra, howsoever done a ucharan, will ever go waste. Why? Because the vibration that are set into the universe shall come back. If the vasanas can get propagated in the universe and can come back to that particular individual of Sukshma or a Linga Sharira to make new birth, then these ucharan also comes back to you. That is how the very fact that we are easily used to Om Namah Shivaya indicates that Om Namah Shivaya has been uttered by us in our previous birth. Otherwise, we would have been some Robert in some Finland, never knowing what Om Namah Shivaya is. So that is why no mantra ever goes waste. In fact, there is a Subhashat which says that there is no herb in the jungle which is of no use. There is no mantra without effect. So that means every mantra has effect. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Any one of you have any questions? Please.
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. The last 3 sessions were very enlightening, and we could not have got this knowledge through reading books or thing. Only through you we could grasp some of the many of the in-depth aspects of this mantra, yantra, and tantra. Thank you very much for that. In fact, attending these 3 sessions have thrown up a lot of doubts and questions in my mind. I just wanted to ask a couple of them. You have mentioned that Rishi and Muni, there is a difference. Muni retains and he won't pass on to the others, whereas Maharshis or Rishis, they pass on as a Sadguru. Now, Bhagavad Gita, in that case, Vasamuni is propagated that one in one stump. That is okay. The second question I wanted to ask is that by correctly pronouncing and knowing the meaning, if you don't do that, will it have a negative effect on the person who's chanting? Because many of us are just by hearted that one. In fact, this Ganavadadava session, through you only we have learned, I have learned, though I know some of the chanting of that, the actual meaning I got it through only. Before that, I was not knowing the meaning. Similarly, like the Aditya Mantra, Surya, so many things, small mantras we chant without knowing the actual meanings. Will it have an effective effect on that, on the chanting person?
No negative effect will be there of any mantra unless the mantra that is pronounced is of a Vama Marga. Vama Marga mantra can have an effect of coming back on the mantrika. Other than that, don't do any of the Vama mantras. All our mantras are Dakshin mantras. So even if the mantra is said without knowing meaning, or even if it is said, in fact, it is said that the mantra is incomplete in form, but the faith is complete in form, the half-complete mantra can also bring the results. So that is why mantra will never give any negative effect unless it is a Vama mantra. That is why Vama mantras are never given. That is why Tantra mantras are never to be done without Guru. Non-Tantra mantras can be done without a Guru. That is why Tantra mantra is never given unless a Guru is there. You are not supposed to enter into it. That's why Tantra puja is not done by anybody and everybody. To give a small example, moment the Tantra puja and Tantra mantra starts, immediately you will find that the wild animals will start coming towards that person. The jackals may come. Even sometimes the snakes will become Jagruta. Mayura may come. All this can happen because the mantra has the effect. That is why how to handle those kind of things. Plus, there are internal changes happening in the body because it is directly related to Kundalini. In our 3 sessions, I have not touched even a word about the Shad Chakras or the Kundalini because that's a separate subject by itself. But it does affect the Kundalini. So it has to be handled in a very efficient manner by a Guru. Otherwise, there is a high possibility of a person doing the Tantra mantra landing into neurotic disorders. Swami Vivekananda has also warned against that. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Thakur has also warned against that. That is why Dakshina mantra we have no problem. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Whichever way you do it, it will give you at least 1 plus, but it will never give you any negative effect. Not to be worried about it at all. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Vidalji, you can ask the question next, Varshaji, and then Dr. Arpit. Please go ahead and ask the question one by one.
Namaste, Sanjay ji. You answered the question. So which I wanted to add. The first question was about the Prasiddha mantras, which is the Dakshina mantra. So that does not require a guru is what I'm clear. You answered that question. The second part of the question that I had was about when you do a japa. Let's say we do a Namah Shivaya Panchakshari. It is said that it has to be recited at least 5 lakh times for you to get some amount of control or expertise on it. Yeah, and they say now in Kali Yuga it has to be multiplied that by 4. I've heard this, but then there is the other portion of Havana, Tarpana, Marjana, and Brahma Bhojana that has to happen 1/10 of each. Is this for Tantric mantras or for Prasiddha mantras as well?
Prasiddha mantra also you have the Purascharana Vidhi. In Purascharana Vidhi, you have to do it Panchanga, starting from Kavacha to Brahma Bhojana. That is for Prasiddha mantra, but Purascharana Vidhi. If you are not doing Purascharana mantra, then it is not required. That is first part. Second, these many numbers and these many numbers, these are basically mainly coming from Tantra Sahitya, that is from Puranas and other places. These are basically to induce a person to remain in the mantra for a longer period. Even Upanishad, as I mentioned, that 1 crore mantra of Omkara or Pranava can lead to Jnana Prapti. So it's not only 1 crore. What it means is you keep doing it, it will more and more benefit you. How many you would require would depend upon what is your preparation from the past births. So there are people who have come, they have taken mantra from Guru, and take our own Gurudeva's example. He was asked by Tap when he went for Himalayan tour. That time he asked him that please recite Om Namah Shivaya. Gurudeva went on reciting Om Namah Shivaya till he came from Kailasha back to, not Kailasha, the Badrinath back to Tapovan Maharaj. But the mantra got siddha only between that period. That is how his further progress was very fast. So it depends on from which base you have fired the missile. The missile is, launcher has to be equally powerful. So there is no number restriction as such, although in Purascharana there is a specific number mentioned by you have to multiply laksha by the number of aksharas in the mantra. So if it is a panchakshari, then pancha laksha. So there are certain granthas mentioning it, but the purpose behind is to emphasize only that keep doing the japa till you fructify it. Hari Om.
Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om. This is Bhuvan, actually. Varsha's login is mine. So Hari Om Sanjay ji, Hari Om to all the study circle group. Hari Om to Pradeep ji. Thanks a lot to all of you for organizing this. It is such a great awakening, and the topic is so beautifully taken by Dr. Saab, and the way it has been connected with quantum physics. I don't know about the content, but when he was speaking about it, I had the goosebump, and everything is well understood. The only small question I have, which I think, first of all, I would like to thank for you for making me to contemplate, because the contemplation, the sadhana, the manan and chintan is the most important thing which can help the sadhak. So the very simple question I have is that in the Sanskrit language, the verb is called dhatu. And even on the earth, all this metal are nothing but called dhatu. And in a way, a very small contemplation tells me that dhatu connects. So my question to you, Dr. Jadhav, that what exactly the word for dhatu means? That's the question. My contemplation is connect, but I just would like to get from.
Dhatu, when we look at the word dhatu is a namabhidhana given to the metal. Dhatu, by etymology, by nirukta, if you look at dhatu is not the name of, is not what metal is. Metal behaves like dhatu, so it is called dhatu. Dhatu by word itself means that which has connection through the Chaitanya. The word indicates prakash. That's why buddhi, dhi, dhimahi. The prakash or the chaitanya is what unites everything. The metal is a specific ghana padartha where the constituents which are called as bhuta sanghata is in its most compact form. So that is why this joining, which is in most compact form, makes it being called as a dhatu. So in other words, all that we see as the creation of the universe is nothing else but coming together of all the particles called rai with the help of prana. The prana amounts to the wave pattern. Rai amounts to the particle part. So rai prana, they come together and then it leads to visible manifestation of bhuta sanghata, which we called as vastu. When anything comes to the vastu format, it is a too delayed a manifestation. So the power in vastu is always limited than the constituent of the vastu. That is how atom is not even seen by eye, but the nuclear energy can destroy a continent. So something which is ultra microscopic and subatomic has a power of enormous proportion. What it means is, when in the creation kaleidoscope, anything moves away from the creation, the power keeps dwindling down because it is a manifestative state. Previous stages of manifestation always hold more power. In the Sankhyan philosophy, if we have to speak, from Prakruti, when it goes to Vikruti, the consciousness and the power both start diminishing with a delimiting factor. So the manifested things are always sant and limited. Unmanifest is unlimited. And the mantra is a process of piercing into that unknown, that unmanifested, and reach at the gates of the original powerhouses. Through the propitiation by the sound syllable. So the knock that you give on the Devata or the powerhouse's door is the knock through the sound of mantra. And it is heard. The Devi opens the door. That is the reason why we keep propitiating Shakti again and again. Navaratri, Kali Mata, Mahalakshmi, Saraswati, Chamunda, Durga, Mahishasura Mardini. Stri Tattva is Shakti in that form. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Jadhav. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Dr. Harpit.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. The more I have really started to revere you and your knowledge, the more I listen to you, the more my reverence grows. I have two questions. Number one, you mentioned Brahma Muhurat. So I would like to know its significance. And number two, if at all we want to initiate a mantra in like a complete manner, so how do we find the guru for that? Hari Om.
Hari Om. The Brahma Muhurta is the Muhurta at which the pre-dawn period prior to Ushak Kala, that means Usha or Ushak Kala, is about to get out of its womb and come out. It is a Kala where Ushak Kala is yet to begin. Rajani or the Ratri is almost ending, and that is supposed to be the period at which all the bodily systems are supposed to be at its optimum. Surprisingly, the medical science has proved it that the blood sugar level is at its best at Brahma Muhurta. There is no exaggeration. It is available in the medical textbooks also. In fact, those who do not have normal sugar at this point of time, they are said to be suffering from Samogyi effect. So Brahma Muhurta is the Muhurta when the mind the brain, the reflexes, and the chitta vritti, as we call it, are at their best ullasit avastha. Now, this is supposed to be the most auspicious in the sense that the concentration for any act, meditation or a japa or reading, whatever it may be, is at its best and peak at this point of time. So that is the reason why Trisandhya Vandana, which is must for all the dvijas, all the three varnas, is essentially told in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. It is because Sandhya Kala is the only Kala when this breathing happening through the right nostril and the left nostril is at normalcy. You will always find that the right nostril or the Ida, the Surya Nadi, works in the daytime. The Somanadi or the Chandranadi, Pingala, works in the night. And at the Sandhya Kala, they are working in harmony with each other, which is supposed to be the best period for absorbing intellectually, assimilating, and having the effect on you as such. So grasping, as we call it, Grahana Shakti, Pratibha Shakti, is at its best at the Brahma Muhurta period. So that is why Brahma Muhurta period is considered to be the best. What was the second question that you had asked?
So you said that any mantra that we speak, if it is Dakshina mantra, then even if it is not spoken in its best form, we get results. But if at all we want to do it in the best possible manner, how do we find a guru to do that?
See, one thing is that there is no way of finding a guru. Guru is never found out. Guru is an institution which is there when the Shishya of the appropriate level reaches that particular level. You will always see that Shishya, like a bee getting attracted towards the honey, the Guru Shishya, of course, this is Guru Shishya relationship of a very highest type. However, there are gurus available who can be termed as a Diksha Guru, not in the sense of actual Diksha, but in the sense of at least giving. For example, you have a teacher in first standard and you also have a teacher in PhD. Now, PhD teacher are not to be taken everywhere unless you have reached the PhD level, then you get a guide professor. But in first standard, you will not get a guide professor, but there will be a teacher to teach you in first standard. Similarly, there are experienced Guru Tulya Vyakti. So Guru Tulya Vyakti can give you a mantra and you can accept the mantra from them. If you do not have any Guru Tulya or if you do not have Shraddha on anybody, then have Shraddha on Sri Krishna Maharaj. Go to your own place where you have kept your gods, close your eyes and tell the Lord that, Lord, from today onwards, I am taking your mantra. You are my Guru for this initiation of mantra. So it will give you a beginning or what is can be called as a jump start for starting the mantra sadhana. Then for fructifying it, for making it mature, as your chitta shuddhi will increase, naturally, Lord has made he manages the world in such a manner that as your chitta shuddhi keeps increasing, you will be forced and pushed into the contact of only the enlightened people. And when you really reach, your chitta shuddhi reaches to a really sufficient level, there will be a guru waiting for you at that particular point of time. For example, there is a Maharaj called Gondolekar Maharaj, which is in Maharashtra. Now, he was a Jivan Mukta. He went in search of his guru all over India, including Ramakrishna Paramahansa. But none of the gurus were ready to take him. Of course, the realized gurus, they knew that he is not his Sishya. Shivananda Maharaj gave the initiation and the Diksha to Chinmayananda Guruji. But when it came to actual Shiksha Guru, that time he said, you better go to Tapovan Maharaj. Why? He was not competent. He had enough Shishyas. Why did he send it? Because they understand at that level who is whose student, who is whose Shishya. So after performing and keep performing penances, when Yajna Tapa Dana reaches a particular level, at that point of time, God has always made an arrangement for a ready Shishya, there is always a ready Guru. Hari.
Hari Om. So we'll conclude today's session. Thank you, Sanjay ji. And also with respect to
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Hari Om, I have a small question. Sanjay ji, what you just mentioned is very pertinent. You know, what happens is that Guru comes automatically, and these people you are talking about, like the Maharaj which you just mentioned, he's a very high level order. But why he's searching for a Guru? Because he should be at a much higher level. He will understand that the Guru will automatically come when the time comes. So why do such people still go around looking for a Guru? Is it just a sort of a desperation, or what? Or there has to be efforts from the side of sadhaka also? Just wanted to understand.
Then for that is very nicely given by Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Ramakrishna Paramahansa says that when the thief is going to steal some gold in the house, and when he knows that the gold is lying next to this particular wall, will he keep quiet? Similarly, when the Shishya reaches to a particular level, he understands the final difficulty in reaching to the destination. So remember, when we studied Patanjali Yoga Sutra, you may reach to Savitarka Samadhi, Savichara Samadhi, Sananda Samadhi. When it comes to Sasmita and then to Nirbija Samadhi, enormous efforts also sometimes become completely hopeless and you become desperate. इसको व्याकुलता बोलते हैं, व्याकुलता. You know what happened with the gopis? Why they were so desperate? Desperation is because even when a small thing which you want is around you and you are about to get it, you become enthusiastic, you become so keen to get it. And when you are getting the final and antima tattva, because Brahmananda is supposed to be million times more than Manushananda and Gandharvananda. So that is why when a Shishya reaches higher and higher level, he becomes extremely desperate for the Guru. If you remember, when Bhairavi Brahmani came, the Tantric Guru of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, when she saw the Ramakrishna Paramahansa, she said, "Oh my God, you are sitting here. I'm searching for you for last 2 years." Here, Guru was searching for the Shishya. Because she already had an order from the God that there are 3 people you will be ordaining. 2 she had already done. She was searching for the 3rd one. So either Shishya or the Guru. And incidentally, this particular Maharaj that I was referring to, when he was told to go to a particular place for his Guru, that Guru called Tukamai, the name of that Guru was Tukamai. Since morning in his village, he was only saying one statement: Chor avega, paisa leke javega. Nobody in the village understood why Maharaj is saying like this. And in the afternoon, the disciple came. And then it was just a matter of one day. He put his hand on him, everything was done. So that is why Guru and Shishya, they become desperate, because when you go to higher level of knowledge, it is the question of achievement. That craving that you have is because you have almost knocked on the final door, but it is not opening. And that is when you require that I need some help. And that help, that desperation, then takes you everywhere, here, there, till you find your ultimate Guru. But there are some who do not even need that. Tapovan Maharaj was not in a need of Guru. Samartha Swami, Samartha Ramdas, his Guru was Ram, Bhagwan Shri Ram himself. He directly spoke about Guru to him. So it varies from situation to situation. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. If no one has any questions, we will close the session for the day. And we will request Sanjay ji again after maybe a couple of weeks later to restart on new topics. Some of the requests has come is about the death and ancestral rites and Shraddha and things like that from the Garuda Purana. So we will announce as after this National Day, holidays and all that. Hari Om. Thank you, Sanjay ji, once again, all of you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you very much, Sanjay ji.
Hari Om.